Welcome back to Cheche. Let me just take in some of your feedback on 22422. Thank you so much for sending it in. I'll start with Eric Wambasi. You're writing from Bungoma. Thank you for watching us this morning. You say, I applaud the civil society for their role to speak for the voiceless victims. If the Deputy President was not on trial at the ICC and it was a different person, Senator Murkamen would not be running up and down. He knows the side of the slice that is buttered. Eric, thank you for your message. Daniel from Isiolo, you're saying Jubilee mnatuaibisha na corruption, recycling non-performing PSs and ministers, putting non-patriotic leaders, if you're talking about patriotism, you're putting non-patriotic leaders missing the principle. Let me see if I can get one more. Patriotism is when we forget the innocent children of Kiambaa burnt alive for political support. Shame on Central Kenya MPs. This is anonymous. So I'll keep taking in more of your feedback. But Mutegi, let me start with you. What have you thought of the discussion so far, especially regarding the role of civil society in the ICC cases?
I entirely agree to a large extent with what Dubi is saying. This government is retrogressing in terms of democracy. You have seen what they've tried to do with the media. The radio was talking about what they've been trying to do with the media, what they've tried to do with the civil society, what they have done with the trade unions. Like now, they are taking us what, as he said, this is the new reloaded canon.
Oh dear.
Yes. What they are doing is not good at all.
Let's talk about.
And I'm ashamed that people who are learned, people like my friend here, who are university professors, my senator, Kithure Kindiki, they're in that bandwagon, not knowing that they will not, in the next 10 years or 20, they will not be senators. They will be in this country being harassed by the same systems they are trying to entrench now. Which is very shameful.
Tell me about civil society and its role in fighting corruption, especially the president in the last week or week and a half, if I'm not wrong, put in new measures that he believes will make the government give it more teeth to deal with corruption. What do you think of those, and what do you think really ails us?
I actually don't think that the president has given the fight against corruption any teeth. If anything, he has removed any possible teeth that there was in the process of fighting corruption. No, I'm serious about this. Because the thing he has done, rather than believing in systems, he has gone back to where the constitutional reform had taken us from, to say he wants to centralize everything to himself and be the leader of fighting corruption in terms of the various informal institutions he was creating. Two,
what about that bill to prosecute private sector? There's a new bill that bribe givers be found and punished.
If you read an article that was written by a friend of mine, Washira Maina, it brought out a very important point, that if you criminalize and penalize the bribe giver, what is likely to happen is you are going to drive both underground. Because usually the bribe giver and the bribe taker are mutual friends, even for convenience only. Nobody is going to... Can you imagine a bribe taker coming to say, by the way, my colleague gave me a bribe of 5 million? Really, because he knows that both him and the other will go underground. So I don't know that that bill really is going to achieve the outcome it is supposed to fight. But overall, I might want to say one or two things about fighting corruption in this country. One is that by institutionalizing the fight against corruption into one unit called the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, probably that is the Achilles heel or nemesis of ever fighting corruption successfully. Because when you have that, everyone else in the public sector, wherever they are, they know they don't have an obligation to fight the corruption because EACC is going to do it. Two, you have met EACC, such a weak institution in terms of how it is managed, how it is run, the secrecy around it, and the power it wields, that there is no watchdog over it. Absolutely. And I'm not sure whether itself
Isn't that what they call independence?
Absolutely.
Isn't that what they call independence?
Independence doesn't mean that you cannot account. You must be accountable as well. EACC does not account. What it is doing in terms of accountability now is to say, we have investigated these files, give them to the DPP. And then they blame the courts for releasing people, irrespective of the strength of evidence. So Partly, I think that we need to rethink the war on corruption. We need to rethink our value system as a country, because when we keep saying that we are a country run by the rule of law, yet what we do is rule by law rather than rule of law. We keep creating small laws here and there, which are not value sensitive, and you find that those laws are then largely broken rather than implemented. So the fight against corruption is not anywhere near to end, only that under the Jubilee government, corruption has thrived multiple-fold. Probably it is the thriving multiple-fold, or it is the media that is exposing them, but because of social media, and more people are coming to tell the truth, because we didn't know about Eurobond until I think somebody leaked it to the media and the NYS and other things. So what I think we need to do is to probably, as a matter of urgency, the government and civil society and the opposition to find a forum of professionals, not just the forum that is going to make political statements, to look through, ideally, what should we do to fight corruption effectively? How do we, what do we do to ensure that institutions and persons, every institution has an anti-corruption framework that works, so that if every institution, wherever, when you give someone too much power without accountability, they can themselves be corrupt and you wouldn't know.
Right. Let me take in a little more feedback, and I'll allow you a chance to respond. And again, thank you so much for sending it in. Senator Murkomen is hard of saying civil society has no role in the Jubilee era. I think he has burned the bridge that took him far. I'm sort of Jubilee, and I think it is serious about silencing civil society through thick and thin. That's from Kip Kirui. Thank you for your comments. Ndubi is an opposition diehard, hiding behind civil society, waiting for an appointment when ODM, an impossibility in brackets, comes into power. Robert Maina from Kisii. Which position are you going for? DPP? I don't know.
That's what they were saying.
That's what they're saying.
They were telling me I'm bitter. I've not been given a job and haven't asked for one.
Oh, okay. Veronica Kinyanjui from Kangemi, you're saying the Pope was impressed by the work of CSOs in the slums. Thanks to our panelists, another one writes, to Mr. Murkomen, everybody is entitled to a fair trial, but victims are also Kenyans and they deserve the same. So kindly allow them to get that, your hatred for civil society notwithstanding. Another one writes in and saying, Ndubi, you are known for fighting for victims. Why shift goalposts and defend terror suspects instead of victims seeking compensation? Why?
Let me answer that carefully and clearly. A suspect, just like we're talking about William Ruto entitled to justice as a suspect, even a terror suspect is a suspect. Actually, he's entitled to a fair trial, like everyone else. So that if you take, for instance, people whom you suspect that they bombed a particular place and you have arrested them at the end of the airport or some border trying to cross, and you say we are going to kill them, instantly, exterminate them because you believe they are suspects, what you are doing is destroying the soul of the country. So those of us who provide legal aid to even those suspects. By the way, I've provided legal assistance pro bono to many people, not just terror suspects, including family matters, ordinary criminal cases, and many others. Others even to arbitrate between disputes and solve small things in slums. So let's not think that I only represent terror suspects. Right. But it's important to just summarize that the element of providing justice for every suspect is really what you can say the soul of the society that believes in justice.
Okay. It is clear, sorry, let me just get a little more feedback. It's clear that some media personalities and houses support and behave like civil society. I've been in the world of civil society for long and I know the ropes. Regards, Yusuf. Yusuf, who on earth would you be referring to on our panel? There was one more that I wanted to take in, if you would just indulge me. Written anonymously, and stop interrupting the panelists with simplistic queries. There's room for every single query on this show. And have a sense of humor. Come on, it's only 9 a.m. If it's so rash at this hour, you're going to have a really long and hard day. Okay, Murkomen, final comments. We'll start with you.
Not final comment. I haven't responded to the corruption.
You can respond to him as you make your final comment.
First of all,
there is no better way to capture what Ndubi said than the question that came as a result of his defense of terror suspects. If there are people who are mostly misunderstood, is we lawyers. People get surprised that why do we defend people who are corrupt, people who are whatever. It's because it's our constitution that provides Chapter 4 that presumption of innocence is key. Everybody is presumed innocent. And that's why William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang are as innocent as the constitution says. And that's why they deserve a just process. And that's why you find Murkomen defending them, because they deserve a just process. Second, I'd like to agree with Ndubi on corruption. I have a problem with the system that believes, including our critics, including those in civil society and any in court, that believe that to fight corruption it must be President Uhuru. That story has been hammered all through, the years, to the extent that it looks like it's resting on the president alone. For the first time today, I've heard from Aaron Ndubi that Kenyans must appreciate that the president plays just a small role. Other institutions must play their role, including ourselves as citizens, on fighting corruption. Third, and which I agree with him, is in the EACC. I have a problem. I think the manner in which we are feeding a monster called the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, in the absence of accountability, that will be the center of corruption. Let me say this, and without any fear of contradiction. Most of the people who are being investigated, I have talked to some of them, and you hear them saying, they have sent so and so telling me that if I give 10 million, my file will be put aside. If I give 5 million, my file will be put aside, and so forth. You will find that when an institution has absolute powers, it is bound to be able to misuse that power. And what Kenyans need to appreciate in the fight against corruption is to avoid the mob justice mentality, where you wake up like Ndubi saying, if someone raises a question on Eurobond, you say the Eurobond scandal. We must have standards as to when does something become a scandal, when does it become corruption. Because in this country, your name is mentioned like this.
Right, Mulongo said the same about Anglo-Lism. You said Anglo-Lism was a scandal that never was.
I have not said, that's the problem. That's the problem we have. I have not said also Eurobond is not a scandal. But there must be a standard where when it reaches now, you're able to say there is evidence, there is an issue, there are queries that are unanswered, and it looks like it's a scandal that is unfolding. But where in a country every time somebody mentions your name, Utegi, you are already labeled corrupt, it creates this mob justice mentality that has not worked so well in terms of fight against corruption. And I would be happy when the dust settles for us to go back to the 175 list that was submitted to the president and ask ourselves, was that list submitted because we were fighting corruption? Or is it that there were people who were fighting for ulterior motives to remove people in offices with an intention of pursuing contracts in those offices, or with an intention of putting their own relatives or friends in those offices? Kenyans must be told the truth, so that we don't have a situation where someone is being told, if he was a farm of potatoes in Limuru and it's in preliminary stage, later he is not, and the people who orchestrated that position are now happy that that person is out. Maybe they pursue their own agenda. We, as a country, we must ensure that we shield the fight against corruption from mob justice, from processes that are not applicable in law. Lastly, there are so many accusations there saying, Murkomen is anti-civil society and so forth. I think Kenyans also must be able to listen and follow. My position was very clear that the large community of civil society is a civilized society, but like any other society, whether it's in political, whether it's in religious, whether it is in the civil society sector, there are few elements in the civil society sector that have actually given a bad name to the institution and the sector that is.
May I ask you something before you go?
Yeah.
What is the issue you have with the Pope? Pope's utterances.
Pope is a wonderful man.
Now you have issues with him?
No, I don't have any issue with Pope at all. I am very happy with his statements. He did wonderful things. He demonstrated humility. I've seen him in Central African Republic. But I just saw this idea that if the Pope is using a small car, is a humble man than the one who uses a big car. I think the question of affluence is relative to a situation. The same Pope came with the 777, which was parked in the airport for 3 days. But we cannot demonstrate that it's a question of affluence. It's because it is facilitating that person to be able to travel. So we must balance that argument that we always have, that if Obama came here with how many choppers and how many whatever, but because of the security situation of his country, it fits within their own system and their abilities and so forth. So there are certain things we must balance.
Makali, your final thoughts?
Okay, briefly, I think because we don't have time. With regard to civil society, I think first the system or the government authorities should stop intimidating civil society. There is need for more appreciation of the work of civil society.
Many institutions.
Including institutions that are charged with performance of certain mandates within the constitution and even just within self-action, people mobilizing themselves. I see that quite a section of especially governance and human rights civil society has been cowed. There are threats, the intimidation. In fact, I think Harun should take the message to our colleagues in the civil society to speak up more and to be more robust and come out and speak. We don't see many of them anymore. They are active, but when you tell them come forth, there are certain considerations now they have before they speak up, and that is because of the authorities. Finally, on the matter of the corruption fight, I think that I cannot move the back away from the president. The president, the executive in this country is the author, the presidency, not the person, but the executive is the author of most of the corruption. In terms of the departments which fall under the executive, really, that's where corruption is happening. And we can't move it away. What is going on are sort of cosmetic, superficial efforts. People can be investigated and basically to clean up. So we need to see more results from the investigations and people being really finally charged.
Extremely briefly, Harun, I beg your pardon for that. We are out of time.
Two quick things. First, I agree with Murkomen about the fight against corruption. The presidency, but he must provide moral leadership, which he is failing, because you recall when Kibaki was elected to 2003, zero tolerance. People believed it. Citizens were arresting policemen who were taking bribes and giving those 20 shillings, 50 shillings back to hospitals, public institutions. Secondly, about civil society and this hate relationship with the people, some people in government, that we are foreign-funded, foreign-centered in our approach, and
that's foreigners.
Yes, but I want to remind Murkomen that since Uhuru became president, 3 powerful people have come to this country, but only 2 are remembered. The Prime Minister of China was here. Our roads in Nairobi were not closed at all because people didn't even recognize him. The Pope came, Obama came. Obama and the Pope are the people who remember what about what. So the people who are Western-driven is the government.
Finally, thank you.
I think
briefly, sir.
I think this government should not turn us to canoeism. Simple as that. Let us follow what the Constitution says. Let people like Murkomen, please follow the Constitution.
Right.
Let them not think that they are going to be senators forever. We have seen people who said Goldenberg was not there. We wrote a story about Goldenberg. Me and Peter Orutere was Goldenberg many years ago. So I thought he was saying, oh, we exported gold, we exported gold. The same thing Anglo saying. Now about Eurobond.
In fact, the DPP has ordered.
Please don't take us back to Moise.
Let us not go back to Moise.
Please don't do that. Please don't, government. Thank you. Gentlemen, your fascinating conversation, really appreciated. Starting off the morning with a punch. I'm Auntie Guta. I thank all my guests for making the time to be with us on Cheche, and you for your feedback. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow night on Opinion Court. Bye-bye for now.